There are too many times in life where the responsibilities of our daily grind get in the way of our pleasure. Before today, it had been just about a month since I've been able to escape those responsibilities and go do some exploring. The wild was calling me, so I set out to answer its call. All of those familiar and exciting feelings started to roll in. Where was I going? And what would I find? And what unique places would I get to see today? These are the questions that drive me, and why I'll never stop exploring. I'm so happy to be back out. It's been about a month since I've been able to get out and explore and hit some trails. You know, sometimes adulting gets in the way, and that's okay. You know, but you finally get to a point where you kind of put some of your priorities aside and just tell yourself, I need to get outside. I'm going. Well, I'm about a little over 4 miles into this run so far, and the views are pretty awesome. So far, I'm noticing so many different offspurs that you can explore. We're not going to do all those today because it would take us all day, but you can see below me, these are all areas that you can explore off the main trail. We have gained a little bit of elevation so far, not much, but this whole entire hillside is covered in a thick forest of saguaro, which is always beautiful to look at. Coming all the way up the trail, that whole hillside is covered, and all up there, all covered with saguaro. Now when we get to the Chilito mine, it's going to take a little bit of exploring in order to find the shaft. I believe there's two. Don't quote me on that though. I know one goes directly deep into the ground, and I guess there's another one that you can walk into. So we're going to try to find those, obviously. This whole area obviously has been mined. I don't know how long ago, but like I said, all these offshoots you can explore, it'll take all day. But if you have the time, why not? Come out, jump on all these offspurs, and give it a gander. I was making my way to the top of the Chilito mine area to do some exploring. I didn't know the precise location of any shafts, but I was set out to find them. Sometimes, I just like to see if I can find them on my own. The way I see it, when you know exact locations of everything, it kind of takes away from the fun of exploring. Obviously, the downside to that is that sometimes you won't find what you're looking for at all. Most of the time, I just look at the satellite imagery on OnX Offroad and take my chances. Well, I'm pretty high up on top of the hill. I haven't found any shafts yet. The views are pretty incredible. I see a structure way off in the distance. We're gonna pass that as we continue along the trail. I'm not sure what that is, but we'll check it out when we get there. But in the meantime, I'm gonna continue to try to find where these shafts are located. Hopefully we'll find at least one. While the search continues, this whole area up here is just so big. I've tried to look on the map and see if I can find anything that sticks out that might look like a shaft, but I really don't see anything. But I'm gonna continue to look around. I'm gonna head back down on the other side, see what I can find down there. Well, still no mine shafts as of yet. Maybe they're not even in this area, but I'll continue to search. I've been trying to get to every vantage point and look in different directions to see if I can see anything, but as of yet, nothing. But the cool thing is that we have this structure right here that we're about to check out. So let's go take a peek at it. I couldn't even begin to tell you what this structure was used for. It's pretty small. Looks like it has some sort of shells for something to separate whatever they wanted to put in here. Either way, it's a cool little structure. Not too much to it. Its only foundation, it was laid onto railroad ties, and that's the only foundation that it has. If any of you guys know what this structure could have been used for, please leave a comment so that you can educate me, because I'd really like to know. Okay, well, that was kind of cool to check out, but you know, nothing too special. Let's move on. We're actually right down the way from where the Treehouse Cabin trail starts. I do want to hit that pit first and see what it's like down there. Hopefully there'll be some sort of a mine shaft or something we can check out. Well, I've circled the pit. I don't see anything out here. Nothing but tailings. Pretty sure it's copper that oxidizes that way. I'm not the smartest guy when it comes to ore and minerals. But there's nothing but tailings here. I was hoping to find some sort of a shaft or something, but there's just nothing here. So if you come out this way, you can skip this pit area. Nothing very interesting. I mean, unless you're a rock hound. Well, I was just about to give up and turn on to the beginning of Treehouse Cabin. And lo and behold, right in front of me, I see one of the shafts I was looking for. Now, I don't know how deep this goes. Probably not deep at all. It's probably blocked off, but at the very least we can look inside of it. See if I can get some light going on in here. Well, I'm inside of it, and this is all there is. But pretty cool, you know. At the very least, I get to go inside of something. I'm inside of something. All right, let's head on out. Well, that was uneventful to say the least, but hey, at least I found one of the ones I was looking for. I was hoping you could walk in a lot further, but that's negative. Oh well. Let's move on to Treehouse Cabin. Now, driving up this part of the trail, right past that old door shaft, as you climb, there are a lot of rocks sticking out that could easily puncture your sidewall, so just keep that in mind and be careful. Right now I'm sitting at about 3,786 feet of elevation, and we're continuing to go up. I don't know how high it goes. We're definitely climbing. So I'm still only 7.5 miles into this run. So we're almost halfway through, not quite though. So there is a what I call a roundabout off spur up here on Treehouse Cabin, and it's just you know, you go up, you go around the hill, and then you go back down the same way you came in. Down off in the distance, down in the valley there, I can see structures everywhere, but I looked on the maps and I don't see like a name of a town or anything like that. That's all part of Schneider Canyon. So I'm guessing it has something to do with mining or agriculture or something. I have no clue, but it's just so far away, I can't tell what they are. Now just real quick, right at the beginning of this roundabout is this old, what looks like old stone wall or the base of an old stone cabin. There isn't much left to it, but if this was a cabin, they had one hell of a view. I'll say that much. Looking all the way down into the canyon, beautiful, just gorgeous. But yeah, you can see how it's all lined with those stones. So I really don't know what it was, but either way, it's interesting enough to take a look at. There is also right up that way what looks like to be an old shaft. I'm gonna go check that out as well. And you can see looking down into there, it's fairly deep. You get it barbed wired off so nobody falls in. That's another one that you can take a peek at while you're up here. And yeah, I know, they're just holes in the ground, but it's still something interesting to check out. You know, I often wonder what they pull out of all these old shafts. I mean, Arizona's a big copper and silver state, amongst other things, of course, but you know, it's still interesting to me. And so, like I said previously though, the views up here, wow. If anything, you come out here for the views and the views alone, and you should be happy. There are other off spurs at the top of this roundabout that you can explore that go pretty far from what I saw on OnX, but we don't have time to explore those today. But if you want to choose to do so, just letting you know that they're there. Now all of a sudden the trail has got very tight on what I would say is the shelf road, because you can see the drop off. My Bronco is right here on the edge. Well, that was kind of a sketchy area, but we got through it just fine. I don't know what these are called, but they're everywhere out here and they're beautiful. Absolutely all over the place. Can anyone tell me what these plants are? I feel stupid for not knowing since I've lived in Arizona for going on almost 5 years now. So some of the things you guys don't see behind the scenes, when we get out all the time to set up cameras and get certain shots, you know. Well, I set up the camera, I was walking back, and I almost landed on my ass. It happens pretty frequently out here, trust me. These rocky, unstable hills can get you. It's a pretty neat little cabin. It's got an old little fireplace, or should I say wood stove. See a tree going up to the top there. It's pretty cool little spot. I wonder what the history behind this place is, and you know, who built it, and if it was just a homesteader or some guy that wanted to live off grid. I don't know. I'll have to do some digging. Well, that was the Treehouse Cabin. Pretty interesting place. Definitely something worth checking out. Easy to get to. And now it's time to move on. We got about 7 miles to go until we hit Route 77. So now it's time to bring up OnX Offroad, because I almost went the wrong way out. And if I hadn't had OnX, I would have. I glanced over at the map and saw that I was going the wrong way. So thank you once again, OnX Offroad, for saving me a bunch of time. If you want to try OnX Offroad, there's always a link down in the description. It's worth it. Give it a shot. Now I just wanted to point out that I haven't come across any major obstacles on this trail. It's just been, you know, typical Arizona trail, rocky most of the way. The sketchiest part of that trail was that part of the shelf road with a loose rock. Now, even with the Bronco, it was pretty tight. So something like a full-size pickup, it could be super sketchy for you. I believe it's possibly doable, but you know, it might be a little bit nerve-wracking going through that one area of that loose rocky shelf road. Other than that, it's been pretty tame the whole way. As you've probably noticed, there's a good amount of shelf roads on this run. Most of them are decently wide, but there are some areas where you might have to keep your eyes on the trail. On top of the shelf roads, there's also a decent amount of switchbacks. It's really hard not to appreciate views like this. Definitely makes you feel really small. Well, driving along, I look off over to my right and I see a solar panel on top of a small hill with some hoses running down the hill into some tanks. I get up here and I find a very, very deep hole. I get vertigo kind of standing over it because it's so deep, but let me show you. It is very deep. I can't see the bottom. There's water down at the bottom. Obviously I heard rocks as I splash as I kicked them down, but you can see the hoses, the solar panel, and then the water tanks down there. So they're extracting water for some reason, but these are the tanks down here. Any of you miners out there know what these are? Let me know. But yeah, that hole up there is extremely deep. You fall in there, no one's gonna find you. I wanted to get a better look, but I don't think my daughter would appreciate me not making it home tonight. You know, when I have nothing to grab onto and I'm looking over an edge, I start to get woozy and dizzy, so I don't want to fall in that. I could hear a pump that they got down at the bottom running, so I just wish I knew why they were extracting that water up from there. I didn't see any of the lines running anywhere else except for those tanks. Obviously there's a reason for it. Let's push on. Now, one thing I haven't seen was one of the mine shafts that you can walk into, and you know, you can walk all in between like supports and everything. There are pictures of that on OnX for this trail, but I either couldn't find it, you know, obviously didn't see it, went right past it, or you had to know where it was and you had to hike up into it because you couldn't see it from the trail. It's too bad too, because I was looking forward to that one, but at least I did find that one with the door. That one was pretty easy to find. I also didn't find the one that goes straight into the ground with wood around it. You know, that's my fault. I probably should have researched more before I came out here to know the exact locations, but it is what it is. I just like to try to find things, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I just don't want to know exactly where everything is. But the downfall of that is sometimes you won't find them. quite some time now, I have been following a rocky canyon. You know, the trail parallels it. And so I finally found a good place to kind of pull over and walk in and look down into it. So we'll see what we can see over here. Looks like a really cool place to hike down through. As you can see, it basically follows a trail just like this. And it's pretty awesome. Maybe one of these days I'll come back out here and hike the whole thing. I mean, maybe not the whole thing, but a good portion of it. Head back to the Bronco. Still got some miles to go. Not too much though. Now I know I always say it's been a fun trail, you know, but they're all fun. You know, even the easiest of trails, getting outside and, you know, going off pavement, it's always a good time. Doesn't matter if it's easy, difficult, what have you. Even if some people might think a trail is boring, I never will, because I'm outside and I'm driving on dirt. It's my dirt therapy. The past few miles of Treehouse Cabin have definitely been the most bumpy part of this run by far. Nothing to worry about, just super rocky, super bumpy. There are a couple small ledges to go down, but they're fun, not difficult. So it's going on to 2 o'clock now. I honestly thought I would be done well before now, but I did eat up a lot of time at the Chilito mine trying to find mine shafts, which I was unable to do. You know, where that little structure was that I showed you guys. And I spent about a good hour or so there. And then obviously all the stopping to check out little oddities that I find and setting up cameras and stuff, but you know, that's how it goes. At least it's still, you know, fairly early. I still have, once I get off the trail, I got a 2-hour drive back to my house, so I'll get home just in time for dinner time. You know, one thing I'll point out too is I haven't seen another soul the whole day. Not one vehicle, not one hiker, not one dirt biker, nobody. Which kind of surprised me because, you know, this trail is kind of off of a main route. And it's got a cabin to take a peek at and some mines. But, you know, sometimes you'll have days like that. You go out on a trail, you won't see not one single person. Other times you'll see people all day. Well, 77's right there. It's the end of the line. That was Chilito Mine and Treehouse Cabin. I want to thank you guys always for coming along with me. It was a great fun trail, not too difficult, plenty to see, and I'm sure if you guys come out here, you'll enjoy it as well. I just wish I would have found those other 2 mine shafts that I was looking for, but, you know, master the phrase, it is what it is. Thank you as always for joining me, guys. I'm AJ, and this is Bucking Life Off-Road. We'll see you on the next video.